What's going on? What's going on, guys? It's the coach. Welcome to Bang Bang. And there's also going to be a question that I'm going to be able to field to the rest of you guys in the chat moving forward. But this is the fourth and final day of San Francisco 49ers padded practice that me and my boy, Jesse Naylor, have went to. And before we get started, we're going to get into just overall big picture of how we felt about today's camp, how we felt about practice, some of the expectations coming off of practice, coming off of a day off. What are some of the things and observations that we picked up during some of the team periods, some of the individual periods, and just overall, color? What are some of the things that you like? One tweet that I put out earlier during practice today was a point that you actually made. I'm talking about Deommodore Lenoir every day, going to reach out to the kids, being able to give that outreach and engagement. Yep. It was something that we've seen him, if you're looking at it from our perspective, we've seen him get drafted here. Right. Yeah. We've seen him take a turn in his play. Now we've seen him actually show up and show consistency. And now he comes back to practice this year in 2024 and shows that not only has he gotten better, he's gotten better on the field. Yeah. Right. He's a leader, but he's actually showing it more. And this is something that we also leaned on coming into camp with who are going to be the next guys, to step up. Right. Yep. Who are going to be the next guys to actually start adding on to the new core. Right. Deommodore Lenoir is somebody that we've always named. That's something that we like to see him moving forward. How do you feel?
Yeah, man. I mean, the unfortunate thing about Lenoir and some of these other guys that we've really started to like a lot is that they're all free agents next year. You know what I mean? And so the 49ers have tough decisions. They might have to choose between a Lenoir and a Ward. I'll say this. I don't know where you were at with it. In fact, I feel... we talked about this day one. I feel like when I said, "Hey, give me Lenoir, no question. I'll take the younger corner." You're like, "Oh, I don't know if I would be there yet." Mm-hmm. Now that we've seen it for a couple more days, are you on board with that, or are you still like, I don't know, it might be Charvarius Ward? Like, if you had to choose between Charvarius Ward and Lenoir going forward after this year to sign a 4-year deal, who would you give that deal to?
I would go with Demo.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah. I mean, right now, I don't know Mooney personally.
Yeah,
right.
Of course not.
So I don't want to speak as if I know the man, but he's hired help.
Yeah.
Right. He's a hired gun.
For sure.
Right. He's not really a part of the culture that we have here. And he's been doing his job. Mooney has been doing a great job. But I just feel like Demo's ascending. And he's been ascending so much that, how much can you say he's the best number 2 corner in the NFL before you start giving him the number 1 task?
Yeah.
Right. Before you start seeing Demo say, all right, it's time for me to take the next step. Yeah. And then eventually the money's going to start matching the production on the field. And I see that he's in the right trajectory.
Yeah. No, he certainly is. So, I think that's certainly a conversation, when we, it's your show. However you want to get into it. You want to get into the Aiyuk stuff now before we get into
okay. So let's just get into, start finish, right? If we're gonna go big 10,000 foot view, let's go there. We show up to camp, right? We get pre-practice going, and just some of the things in pre-practice that you like to see. Isaac Adam, first guy out. He's been there. Like, you can set your watch by him.
Yeah.
Right. First guy out. DB, really.
Yeah.
First unit out.
Yeah.
On the field, always. Pre-practice, always. The defensive backfield has been class personified since we've been here. Mm-hmm. We start out with practice, and the first thing we start out with is what we do every practice. Mm-hmm. Let's do roll call. Who's practicing? Who's not? Who's coming? Who's going? And what do we start doing? We saw John Feliciano suit up. We were excited about that. Honestly, it was kind of like a little bit of like an excitement. Like,
yeah.
Aaron Banks had suited up. Spencer Burford was in pads. It was like, okay. We're about to get the pads thumping today, right? This is going to be an interior day, right? Yeah. Because really, if you look at most of the offensive line, deficiencies that have happened throughout camp, it's been through the interior, right? Yeah. It's been those guards getting beat on, pause. It's been those centers losing assignments. And honestly, we can keep talking about water being wet, but the facts are is that we haven't had starters there, right? Yeah. And what we're essentially doing is assessing backups, right? And for us to be able to see those guys come on the field, we thought that at that point, we're going to have a really good practice today, especially them coming on an off day.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we definitely did. We thought that Banks was going to play, Feliciano, Burford. Feliciano did end up playing. Banks did not. Burford did not. And that really gets into all the guys that were out.
Let's go.
You had Burford out. You had Banks out. You had Cam Robinson out. You had Aiyuk out. You had Bosa, Trent, Huff, CMC, Greenlaw, Jawan, Cowing, Tay Martin, and of course, Brandon Aiyuk, who not only was he out, but he was nowhere to be found at all on the field like he was 2 short days ago when it seemed like everything was pointing towards him being signed. Then you had the Colin Cowherd situation where he tweets out yesterday, new deal for Brandon Aiyuk, news coming soon. Where's the news? Why wasn't Brandon Aiyuk there? And then today, rumors pick up more and more and more of him being traded. Dude, I don't even know.
It's all over the place, man.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy is that leave it to the Niners to slap me on the wrist and make me go back to the number one edict that I had after I chased them around like a dog without a tail on the last offseason contract negotiations. And this was me. I was completely fooled by the Debo stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Years ago.
Yeah.
And I told myself then, Jesse, I said, you know what? I'm gonna not trust the organization until they actually do something.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
I am going to trust the fact that they are going to do 100% what is in their best interest. And as much as they say they love these players, don't love these players, whatever, it's always going to be about the organization. So for me, I threw that out the window and completely started pontificating and sitting there with conspiracy theories about, all right, well, let's look at the handshake. Well, let's look at John. Let's look at what he did with Kyle. And, and Brandon wouldn't even be here in front of the fans if he was truly traded. And, Kyle was supposed to have a good conversation with him. I wonder how it went. And then he doesn't even show up. And now we're hearing that he's possibly on the block, if already had offers and, is waiting to get moved. So, at this stage, I don't know. I don't think any of us do. I do know that the Niners have been trying to work a deal, right? They both have on both sides. Mm-hmm. So there's something there as far as being able to close that out if and when. But, I mean, we're honestly, bro, we're like essentially waiting on the Pope smoke.
Yeah, and this is the other thing, right? Like, then we heard that the Niners are trying to sniff out a rat that told Cowherd. And the 49ers do this often, by the way. They leak all the time, but they tell people different things, and then they go after the people knowing, hey, this is who leaked. We're getting rid of them. Mm-hmm. That's how you got Silver, and not only Silver, but Marco live on my show when we were doing the draft special saying, oh my gosh, they just drafted Cooper DeJean. And then it wasn't Cooper DeJean. It was Ricky Pearsall. So that's how things happen there. And then, but I do want to say, Colin Cowherd said, keep your eyes out for Brandon Aiyuk news, and then hashtag new deal SF. So whether they were sniffing it out or not, it's just, basically, I'm just trying to point out that it's been a major roller coaster. It's like, he's going to get traded. No, he's not going to get traded. We got a new deal. New deal's been signed. It should be announced soon, according to Cowherd. And then now it's not signed. Now he's back on the trade block. I just want to be done with the whole thing. I want to be done. I want to know if he's on the team or he's not on the team. Let's move forward. That's where I'm at with it.
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm not mad at that at all. I get it. I'm ready for it to be over.
Yeah.
The truth is that there's a lot of reasons why I want it to be over, and the chief reason for it is that we need him back. It's a big deal.
Oh, they do need him back.
We need him back, man. Like, guys, I'm gonna tell you, from the 4 days that we've seen, the receiving crew is like they're leaving much to be desired. Like, Ricky Pearsall it's a slow rollout for Ricky Pearsall. Much to nothing, so much that you can't even assess. It would be unfair.
Yeah.
It'd be unfair to try to say whether Ricky Pearsall, way too early for him to be, for us to look at him as good or bad.
Yep.
Right now, I mean, Tariq Owens had a couple of good days for what it's worth. Debo is spotty.
But then he had an awful day.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And then really, I want you to kind of chime in on receivers because I know you have been doing a lot of work on that.
Yeah.
But, Debo seemingly has had some spots where he looked good in team, but one-on-ones completely strapped, when he has to actually get himself open.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think about the receivers that so far?
I mean, Debo, for the most part, anything that's not a deep route against Yadam can't get open. He can beat him deep. If he goes deep against Demo, though, however, Demo locks him up. Ricky's had one day where he flashed. He's had 2 days where he's been non-existent. Tariq Owens had one day where he flashed. Then he had another day where he had a massive drop. The most consistent receivers, and I can't even say that. The most consistent receiver, believe it or not, is Trent Taylor. And Conley, probably.
Trent Taylor, Conley, and then I would say a far third is Ronnie Bell.
I was gonna say he was the most consistent, and then I realized he had one really, really good day, and then it was kind of mid after that. So here's the other thing. It's not just us noticing it, because we get to camp today, and who's right next to us but Brad from RSF Niners.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking and just bouncing things off of each other, and kind of as we're entering into the stands together, we're just talking about like, what have you seen so far? And he says, man, you notice like there's a lot of coverage sacks this year, Jess, compared to last year. I said, yeah, I did notice that. In fact, we've been talking about it all week. Tons of coverage sacks. And the only conclusion we can come to is Brandon Aiyuk's not on the field.
Brandon Aiyuk's not here.
He's that important.
Yeah.
So it does play. Brandon Aiyuk is the number one receiver on this team. We can talk about who's more talented, who's a better football player between him and Debo. We can do all that. But who's the number one receiver? Make no mistakes about it. It's Brandon Aiyuk, and it's not particularly close, in my opinion.
No, I would agree with you. Brandon Aiyuk talked a tough game over the summer. And, for context, I've been doing a lot of pushing back on that rhetoric. But now that I have seen this team for the better part of a week with competitive practices, like we said on your channel, I think we've watched well over 150 snaps of team ball.
Yeah.
They need him.
Yeah, they do.
They need him.
Real quick for clarification, Brad is the SF Niners. I don't know. I was thinking Raj is RSF 49ers. Been hanging out with Raj every day too.
Yeah, so we've been hanging out with both of them.
Yeah.
Right.
So, anyways.
Yeah. But yeah, we need them back. And they can't start the season without Brandon Aiyuk.
Yeah.
For the receiving core, you just don't really see any deep threats.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of speed. You don't see a lot of back and forth. Usually the guys, when that you got two good units, iron sharpening iron, is, when there's a back and forth. There's a barrage of wins one way, wins the other way. The only way that receivers are getting open right now that I've seen is play action, quick game, okay?
Yeah.
And your occasional shot. You know what I'm saying? Outside of that, it's play action off of Christian McCaffrey getting the ball going, or Elijah Mitchell or Jordan Mason. If they get some traction going on the offensive line, and then they get into their play action game, they probably go quick game out of shotgun, get the offensive line on quick sets, get their hands on the defensive line as quickly as possible. But as far as traditional drop back game, as far as traditionally just getting the ball, take your pick, 3-step drop, 5-step drop, whatever. We struggle getting open.
Yeah.
At least against our secondary.
Yeah, most certainly. And listen, it's funny because a lot of people have this narrative that Brandon Aiyuk has no leverage. And I guess when you look at the context of the contract and how the 49ers can make him play out the 5th year and all those things, certainly, there's not a lot of leverage. He can choose to sit out. But I'll tell you this, if he did choose to sit out, he does have a lot of leverage, because watching this team, and he's sitting there watching it, he knows what's going on. Every day that practice goes by, this team needs him more and more, and it becomes more and more obvious. I think that leverage is starting to climb a little bit watching these other receivers.
It's leaning in BA's favor.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
You look at you would have to say it wouldn't even be fair to ask Bricky Pearsall to take on a Brandon Aiyuk load his rookie year.
No,
it wouldn't even be fair.
No, absolutely not.
They need him.
Yeah.
And full stop. This offense needs to be activated. Somebody to be able to get the ball. And honestly speaking, not only do they need him, but they may have to be a little bit more traditional with him being the true number one receiver by himself.
Yep.
Really routing dudes up and playing pitch and catch with rock. I think that what we've been seeing on offense, if we don't get Trent back, if we do get Brandon back, he's going to have to get elevated.
Yeah.
I don't see him being a fourth option on the offense after what we've seen.
He might be, he would have to go not just receiver, but option in the pass game. It would have to be him because he's the only one that can get open, and he can get open like that.
Right.
So,
moving into the offensive line. I thought that we talked about the beginning of practice with Joe Feliciano suiting up, Spencer Burford suiting up, Jake Brindle suiting up, Aaron Banks suiting up. Aaron Banks did not play today. He didn't practice today.
No.
He was in Indy. I have video of him and did some looking over there at some individual periods, but he didn't have team today. Spencer Burford didn't even do Indy.
No.
He stretched with the team and then immediately went off to the side.
Yep.
I think what they're trying to do is just basically get him ramped up. It's a hand injury. He had his hand wrapped.
Yep.
But physically he looks good. He looks in shape, looks ready to play.
Yeah.
We just got to get him back on the field. So right now, I do want to be fair about the offensive line because for all of the difficult days that they've had thus far, they haven't had a true starting five out there since we've seen practice.
Yeah.
As far as having a traditional run game with CMC, we saw he didn't practice the first day.
Yes.
He practiced
the second,
the
third
day.
Didn't practice
today.
Yeah.
So CMC has only practiced 2 days.
Yeah.
I think even with George practiced 3 times.
Yeah, twice he fully practiced. Once he practiced, was out there for warm-ups and didn't really do anything.
Yeah. So let's just get into it. I know we tried to touch on the offensive line, but we kind of segued into something else. Out of the 4 days of practice, how do you feel about the intensity of the team, the urgency of the team?
I mean, there's one day where the energy from beginning to end felt really, really high. Like the team was on point. You could tell it was going to be a tough practice. That was one day. And actually, trying to think. That was day 2.
Day 2.
Yeah. Day 3, there was the stuff in the beginning, and we're like, it's probably Aiyuk related just because all the trade stuff started swirling. Then they picked it up in 11 on 11s and actually had a nice long practice or what have you. But yeah, I would say one day where we're like, okay. Yeah, the energy from beginning to end was fantastic here.
Yeah.
That was it, one day. And that was day 2. That was when CMC and Kittle and Bosa were all back on
everybody
the field. Yeah, they were all there. Yeah.
Everybody practiced on day 2.
Yep.
And that's when the juice was there, right?
Yeah. Yep.
No pun intended, both.
Yeah.
Kyle
juice was there too. Yeah.
The juice
was
there.
Yeah.
So we can go practice by practice and like nitpick and say, well, this day was, day 2 was the highest ranked day. And then let's say day 4 was the second rank, and day 3, we can do all of that. But the theme that I have is that they got to ramp up because I don't think that they can have back-to-back hard days. And if you think about that, we're already past 50% of practice. I mean, 50% of camp.
Yeah.
Camp is over halfway gone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they had their first hard day 3 days ago, and they haven't had one since.
Yeah. No, that's true.
And then you look at the day that we had today. It was a short day.
Yeah.
only 2 team periods. We
Yeah.
had what 40, maybe 40. How many did we have in total? 40
don't know.
team, 40
Not a
plays.
lot.
20 on period 11. What's that? 44.
Yeah, that's not a lot of plays.
It's not a lot of plays.
Not a lot of plays.
We have 44 plays today in team,
Yeah.
right? And this is after an off day, juxtaposed to the 83 that we had on day 2.
Yeah.
Right? We had 83 plays on day 2.
Yeah.
So for me,
and we had 53 2 days ago or whatever.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
53 2 days ago.
Day 2 was like the heavy day.
Yeah. So you see them like, even if you're just going by the bandwidth of what they're spending, and on top of the energy of what they're doing, it's like, you know, I used to have a coach that would say, you know, you do it right, you do it light.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You do it wrong, you do it long.
Yep.
You know, that was the saying when we used to play, right? And my thing is that if you're gonna get them 44 plays, that's kind of, you know, for me, and call me old fashioned, but that's the number one barometer that all coaches use. It's like, look, if I'm gonna give you 44 plays today, I want 44 balls to walls, 100% full tilt plays.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Because we just did double of that 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And you're just coming off of a break.
Yeah.
So if
you did double, then we lowered it to 53, knowing you were about ready for a break. You had a day off, and then you came back, and we're doing 44. It's like,
come on. And then the energy being low, like that was telling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On top of Wednesday, which was their day before their break, we all gave them a break, no pun intended, and said to them, like, you know what? They practiced like they knew they had a day off. Right? All practice was flat all through warm-ups, all through Indy, and then we got to team ramped up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Team ramped up, and they gave us a really good team period, 2 team periods in a red zone, right? But even that red zone fell flat. And what did we say? All right, well, you know, they got a day, you know, let's see what they come back off of a day. And I feel like energy-wise, if I had to go, you know, good, bad, or indifferent, I would say indifferent. I was indifferent about the energy today.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't, we actually made a note of it and early on said energy was good. It was up high.
Mm-hmm.
And then as we went along, it was like, oh, okay, energy's
flat.
Which was interesting because the other day, the energy was low in the beginning. And once they got to 11 on 11, it's like, boom, everything ramped up.
Mm-hmm.
Today was the opposite. It was like everything up until 11 on 11. Then it was like, man, big letdown. So I don't know, man. It just, it's definitely palpable, and it's something that they're going to have to work through.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's as simple as they just don't have all their guys there every day. And once those guys are back, they'll be great. But a lot of that's on the coaching staff too, you know, and making sure that energy is high. And that's where it's like, you know, Kyle Shanahan being the head coach of this team, we talk about how he doesn't do a lot of practice. At least be that guy in between.
Right.
You know, as they're switching periods, walking over, high five some guys, pat them on the ass, tell them they're doing a good job, keep the energy high. Do something, dog. Like something.
Yeah.
Coach somewhere, please.
Do something, bro. I you know, at one point there was a comment even made, and all right, Kyle, maybe you guys are gonna pick it up once the fans get out of here. You know, maybe they're just tired of us being around and watching them. There was fans actually saying that.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? Like making excuses because the fans, like, okay, so when we're in, just to give you the picture of this, we're in the bleachers and we're basically surrounded around us, like content creators, like other guys with channels. But outside of us, you know, there's all of the fans, or we're amongst the fans.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So while we're talking, fans are actually having conversations about, man, practice was flat today. Well, did you feel like it was flat today?
Yeah.
Like asking us, like, man, it was kind of weird today. Did it feel like they really didn't want to be out there today?
Yeah.
And that was palpable to the fans.
And it's coming from people that aren't there every day. And so they're like, oh, this is my, this was my one day to come. Like,
yeah,
give me some insight. Like, this is my feeling, but I haven't been here. Like,
yes.
It's like, yeah, no, it's
exactly.
flat.
There were people like on that level, like, is it usually like this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. Maybe the Brandon Aiyuk stuff and the Trent Williams stuff is like a real cloud over these guys. Maybe they actually see that they are beating the offensive line at a really high clip, right? Maybe some of these guys are realizing, like, look, man, we got to we're 2 players short of really feeling good about starting this season.
Yeah.
And until we do, we're kind of going through the motions, man. I mean, like, we're going to get things done, but at the same time, you can't realistically tell me that we're a Super Bowl team without Trent Williams and Brandon Aiyuk walking through the door.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like if we can see that, they damn sure can see that. They talk about the worth that these guys mean to each other and the team at all times.
Yeah.
So I would just be trying to see exactly why. What's up?
No.
Exactly where that is. Now, let's go with the first team period. There was 20 plays in the first team period, and there's a couple of overarching things that I had with that period. One is that in order to get the pass game out, they started going quick game because there were 4 coverage sacks in that period.
Yeah.
Right. So what do you have to say about, number one, the secondary? Because we want to give them their flowers first. It can't all be about what the offense isn't doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Who are some of the guys that you have seen that have been a part of that good secondary in the in team periods, while I'm watching the trenches, right? And also just kind of segue into what you have been seeing offensively in the pass game, as far as what Brock Purdy is giving you, right? How the progression, the ups and downs of what he's doing, juxtaposed to how you see this panning out in the season.
Yeah, I think so. Watching the secondary, I mean, it really seems like it's a combo of all players. Like, it doesn't matter who's out there. Travarius Ward doesn't play a lot. I'll tell you that during 11 on 11.
Right.
So it's not like you've got Travarius Ward locking down Conley, play in and play out. Ward's hardly out there. And that's all the time. It was like that last year. It's like that this year. Now, Demo's out there a lot. He's always shutting things down. But, even Yadam does a good job. There was a rep today where I strictly watched Ricky Pearsall because he was out there a bunch and he wasn't getting the ball. So I'm like, let me watch him on this play. And Rock Ya-Sin put shackles on him. He couldn't do anything with Rock. Like, Rock was right there in his hip the whole time. And so, it doesn't matter the combination DBs, like, they're doing a good job for the most part. Now, as far as Brock Purdy goes, I think early on we talked about the interceptions. We never made a big deal about it. He certainly cleaned those things up. And for me, I don't really care if he gets interceptions or he doesn't. I'm looking at the decision making. Are you throwing passes you shouldn't throw? Passes your arm can't get away with? Like, are you making sound decisions? And what I can say is, my issue, more so than the picks, was the decision going into some of those picks and the drop picks. His decision making the last couple of practices have been really good. And a lot of that is, unfortunately, he's realized, like, listen, these guys aren't getting open. So I'm just going to be dumping the ball short, dumping it short. Hopefully they can make a play with it. Buying time with his feet, he's running for his life at times.
Day one was crazy.
Yeah, he can't get guys open downfield. And so, listen, he's working with what he can work with, but what do you expect? You can't make good things happen if good things aren't available to happen. And so I think a lot of those mistakes in the first couple of days were because of all of that. And he was trying to force things, and then now just realizing over the last couple of practices, like, it's just not there. Like, especially we get moved the ball, I just got to make the plays that are available to be made. And if there's a big play to be made, I'll make it. And he does a good job of it, but often there's not a big play to be made. And so he's just jumping the ball off, I
mean, one thing that I said that we saw that was emblematic of that is the dump off that he had to George Kittle. I mean, he baked that thing. He hung in there to get that ball out. One thing that I wanted to start highlighting as well is that are we really going to know what our defensive line can do until we get to interleague games? I mean, interleague practices, into joint practices? Is our
yeah,
offensive line good enough to actually give them a look? Basically, am I saying is our offensive line that bad, or is our defensive line that good?
Yeah, I don't know. But even then, it's like the defensive line's not that good. Like they're getting pushed, right? But it's not like they're, I don't know. Here's the deal. Yes, I think joint practices are going to be huge. Preseason games for some of these guys are going to be huge. It's just one of those things that until we get the full team and we have the full scope of whether Brandon Aiyuk is there, whether Trent Williams is going to be there, what does that look like? We're not going to fully know until week one. And what's interesting is I think last year, I'll say this. You know, I saw somebody in the ding. Jesse, it's just practice.
Yeah.
Ding. I'll tell you, I agree. It is just practice. And
that's true.
I'm not trying to say the sky is falling, but here's what I'll also say. I was there last year. This team was clearly on a mission from day one. You felt that every day that you were there. There was no period where you're like, man, they were a little bit flat. There was no practice where you're like, dang, I feel like they could have done more. The energy was high from jump. As soon as practice started until it ended, energy was high, man. Players were flying around. Brandon Aiyuk was extremely dominant. This team felt like they were on a mission.
Yeah.
We talk about a Super Bowl hangover. Maybe it's because Trent's not there. Maybe it's because Aiyuk's not there. But I can tell you just the feel of what practice is this year compared to last year. This does not look like a team that's on a mission to win a Super Bowl this year the way they were last year. Doesn't mean they can't. Doesn't mean that things can't change. But there is something real happening that was not there last year. This team was dialed in from jump. It is not right now. And that is very, very clear. So we can say it's practice all we want. But again, when we look back at these practices last year, there's a lot that we can pull from how that season went and look back. Now, I'm a little concerned about that, you know?
Yeah, no, and these are some of the things that I asked you to pay attention to when we got over here.
Yeah.
I wanted you to see, I said, I want you to really pay attention to what you felt last year, what you saw last year, what was going on in the air, how were people talking about the team? Because the one thing about this is that we have our opinions, but everybody's seeing the same thing.
Everybody that we talk to is saying the same stuff.
Right. So
and separately, it's not like we're and bringing it up to us. It's like, okay, well, listen, we're not crazy. We are feeling it. You're feeling it. You're feeling it. You're feeling it. Everybody's feeling the same thing.
Yes. It's about sitting around with maybe like 100 people in one area, right? Mm-hmm. And it gets quiet at practice. And everybody's in individual. And somebody just says, why is everybody just standing around?
Yeah.
And you look up and there's maybe like 2 to 3 people working a drill in individual. Yeah. And everybody else is just standing around. Yeah. And you have to, and there are people looking at each other like, this is kind of boring. Like, what's going on in practice?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So the lack of urgency has been a point of focus. It's been there. The way they finished practice on day 3, that red zone period, that might as well have been 7-on-7. Offensive, defensive linemen were tired near red zone. They're ready to get out of there. I mean, these are things that you just have to point out because you see them. It's not football, right? With the coverage sacks that you've seen, I do feel a little bit like the offensive line, it needs to be vindicated because a lot of those coverage sacks are coming off the back of the offensive line is doing well. So let's try to make chicken salad out of chicken shit for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We know the offensive line is an imperfect vessel. We get it. Part of this is even, you got to be a little bit pragmatic with this in a sense because we don't have the full offensive line.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's not like we have to assess them, as the full guys. But I need to see what line we come in with. It's clear that they want Dominic Pooney to start.
Yeah.
He's either gonna start or I feel as though that he's the replacement plan for Aaron Banks if and when he moves on.
Yeah.
But I want to pause right there. I don't think Aaron Banks is going to get paid if he keep playing the way he's played during this practice, during these camps.
No, definitely not.
Aaron Banks is not having a good camp.
No.
He seems to be tired, very tired. nursing some type of ailment at all times. You know, if it's not him being tired or needing water, it's somebody working on his leg. Then it's somebody working on his chest. Then if we're going through an indie period, everybody's focused. Aaron Banks is finishing one rep and taking off his helmet immediately, right? And it's just like, bro, I mean, are we going to work consistently? Are we going to get a flow out of you? And then on top of it, we have to go into what we seeing out of Aaron Banks and team. We can go with Indy and all that other stuff, but you know, that's bedside manner, honestly. That's kind of like dotting your I's and crossing your T's. The real meat of the whole situation is team. And Javon Hargraves has been having his way with Aaron Banks.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me what you've seen there.
No, he definitely has. You know, I want to kind of tie the whole thing together, though, because if the question is, are you worried about this team from a talent aspect in making the Super Bowl? No, especially if Trent and Aiyuk are here. No,
right.
Definitely not. And that's where that conversation comes in, where it's like, hey, it's just practice, you know, and it's still a very talented team. But one of the things that I've been trying to tell people all off season is, yes, the names are the same, but the team is still very different. You know, there's times where players get older, players get better, players get worse. There's a lot that can happen from one season to the next. Right. And you see it across all sports. The decline can happen very quickly. What is the Super Bowl hangover? I think, you know, we talk about it. We try to wrap our mind around it. Why does it happen? Is there a pattern of who it happens to? All these things. I mean, all I can do is go off a feel. And if there was a feeling to a Super Bowl hangover, this, I think, would be it. This would be it.
All right. So look, Kenny, I liked the comment when you put it in the video. Don't move the goalposts. You need to find me saying that I wanted TDP to start. So don't move the goalposts. I liked the comment. You even brought it up before in the multiple shows weeks ago, and I told you, yes, I remember this comment. So don't try to act like this is a gotcha moment. Go find the clip of me saying that TDP was going to start. Don't move the goalpost, my bro. Don't do it. I got your $100. It's not going anywhere. I got you, but you got to find it. All right. One thing that I also want to touch on is the defense. So some of the guys, we have some new contributors to the defense. Leonard Floyd, Yatur Gross-Matos, Malik Collins, Jordan Elliott, Devondre Campbell. We've been seeing Rock Ya-Sin in a lot. We've been seeing a little bit of
Isaac Yiadom.
Has been playing a lot. Out of some of the new contributors, I'm going to give you the floor because there's some obvious guys, and I just want you to go, okay? Out of some of the guys that you've seen, I don't want to talk about what guys do you think you're pleasantly surprised with, right? Because that can just say, oh, I like this guy, you know? He looks good, he runs good, you know, making a little bit of plays. What I want to do is I want you to think about the level of play that you were seeing out of the defense last camp, right? And start looking at one for one some of these guys. Yatur Gross-Matos, right? Leonard Floyd, Devondre Campbell, and not only assess how they've been in camp on what you expected from them based off of your own standard, but the previous standard that you witnessed in camp before.
I would say players in I'll just do groups. Players in the secondary compared to last year. And it's not just adding Rock Ya-Sin and Isaac Yiadom. It's also having Luter not injured, right? Because at this time last year, Luter was out. Ambry Thomas was getting a lot of play. And behind Ambry Thomas, behind Lenoir, Charvarius Ward, there really wasn't a lot. And every time Ambry was on the field, he was getting cooked. In fact, it was so bad that we were calling out what was going to happen when he was on the field. And Ambry ended up playing a big chunk of last season and being a starter. I was looking at him as a guy that probably shouldn't make the team
Shouldn't
last
even
year.
make the team.
But the problem with that is that there was nobody to unseat him. This year, when I look at the secondary, man, there is so much more talent. Luter's a good player. Womack's showing up and doing something. He was also hurt last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think Yadam has done a pretty good job overall. Rocky Sin at times has looked good. So overall, the secondary, I think, is just in a much better place than it was a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at the linebackers are a step back, and that's with Devondre Campbell in the lineup. That's not necessarily Devondre Campbell's fault, but he's trying to replace a player who is at times the heartbeat of this defense when it comes to Dre Greenlaw. So that's going to be a tough fill. Now, when you go to the defensive line, I think this time last year, no Bosa was around here. There was Drake Jackson, we were hoping could do something. They had brought in Taco Charlton. There wasn't a lot of depth at the edge spot, and without Bosa, it was really hard to gauge. We didn't know what we were going to get from these players. I definitely look at the edges this year, obviously with Bosa there, but even if I remove them, I feel a lot more comfortable with Matos and Floyd, even though they're not doing a ton. I just have seen them play, and so I feel a lot more comfortable with them there. And then the interior, man, I'll say this, Kinlaw had his issues with his knee injuries, but last year he was healthy.
Right.
And he was looking good. And physically, I mean, him and Armstead next to each other was an absolute monster of a lineup. Mm-hmm. These guys up the middle are far smaller than what they were last year. I don't know what the depth looks like long term. And Collins hasn't done much. Neither has
Jordan
Elliott. I don't know what to think. I would say if I'm comparing this interior defensive line to last year's, it's far worse. I mean, that again, this is early. So I would say, the linebacking core, worse. Obviously, no Greenlaw. Secondary, way better, not even close. The edges, way better, not even close. And the interior defensive line is worse. So a little bit's better, a little bit's worse. And then who knows? We don't know what Staley brings and what Sorensen's going to do. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if the coaching's better or worse. We'll find that over time. But yeah, things are definitely different. Better in some areas, worse in others.
Yeah, I mean, and then we also have some guys that are coming in. We still get Huff back. Huff looks good, bouncing around. We don't know exactly what he can do on the field anymore. I mean, thus far, but the interior. And if for context to your point, Jesse, I would say pretty much that when we do run the ball and we get traction, it's inside zone. Mm-hmm. And that's something that you would think that we would struggle with the makeshift offensive line, with not having all of our guards back and our starting center.
Every big run has been a rip up the middle.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much. So, I mean, right now, I would have to say I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like, I don't think that the interior defensive line is necessarily showing me anything. They haven't really popped. And then on top of it, for what it's worth, they're going against backups, fringe third string guys, right? Rookie UDFAs. You know what I'm saying? Like at some point you had a couple of guys on this offensive line who you could say that they just were camp fodder. You know what I'm saying? So that's one side of it that we need to really see through. We've gone through the offensive line. We do you want to talk about Trent? We could be able to just touch on it, but at some point he's got all the leverage. Is basically when are they going to hurry up and pay him? That's pretty much the long and short of that. Also, what I wanted to get into is special teams. So first practice, no special teams practice whatsoever.
No. Moody had a couple of
kicks.
Yeah.
But none of the kickoff return new format practice.
Yep.
So with the new formatting, we got a chance to see a little bit of it on practice 2. We got a big, heavy dose of it on practice 3. Mm-hmm. They practiced it out. You went over that entire period.
Yep.
And today they actually went over it again.
Yeah.
So talk to me about some of the returners, how you've seen them setting this up, and what you think about some of the new kickoff return format indie periods that you've seen in practice thus far.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Let me make sure I got everybody right. Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
So today during the kickoff practice period, a lot of squib kicks being practiced, and then also a lot of interesting lineups back there. Debo took some kicks. Juice took some kicks. Ronnie Bell took some kicks. Trent Taylor and Patrick Taylor took some kicks. Ricky Pearsall, Conley, Schrader, and Danny Gray all took kicks. I will tell you, based off of what I've seen, I like the Debo. I would like to see Debo and Pearsall back there. I think Pearsall is the most sure-handed out of the punt returners that we've seen throughout the course of practice the last few days. So I like him back there. And Debo is by far the most explosive of the returners. So I like him back there. It would be nice to have Debo back there with Juice if you could guarantee that Debo is going to get the ball and Juice could be a lead blocker, but you can't guarantee that.
Right.
So Debo and Pearsall, for me, I would love to have back there, but they're trying everybody back there. I mean, I saw Ambry Thomas back there 2 days ago. They're literally exhausting all options at this point. It's actually really cool to watch.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that I can't wait to see. I mean, we're all going to be looking forward to seeing it as football fans. I mean, as it stands, we actually got a guy that we thought was going to be able to help us out in that area in Isaac Garindo, which is going to be my next segue. We've already talked about the DBs. We talked about defense. Offensive line has got their love. But I want to just be able to go into the overall field of running backs, right? Right now, CMC has only practiced 2 out of the 4 days that we've seen him.
Correct.
He looked good on day 2, the heavy day. Day 3, he just looked like Christian, kind of handling business as usual. But really, the makeup of this room is the 2 guys behind him, Jordan Mason and Elijah Mitchell. So we talked about the interior defensive line being a little deficient, offensive line being, leaving less to be desired. But what do you have to say about our stable of backs coming into camp? Also juxtaposed to how these guys were last year during this time of year.
I feel really good about the running backs. I feel better about the running backs this year than I did last year, certainly.
Okay.
Mitchell didn't have the pop last year that he has this year. He's been very impressive athletically.
That's impressive.
Running very hard, which is great.
Been running, man.
Yeah, he's been running very tough. Last year, you had TDP, who was just awful. Right now, Schrader is way better than TDP was. And then Jordan Mason, still the same name, much better player. He's better in pass protection. He's better in route running and catching the football. He is a polished running back now. So overall, yeah, I definitely feel much better about the running back room. And it's a really good running back room. Heck, we were talking today that if they happen to move Mitchell, I'd feel very comfortable with Schrader being the number 3 running back. He can do it all. He's a good blocker. He's a good receiver. He can run the ball well. He's got good vision. I like him. If he was the number 3 option, I'd be totally fine with that. So, yeah, I feel really good about the running back room.
Me too, man. Strong room. Jordan Mason looks better than he did last year. I mean, Jordan Mason looks like a starter.
Yeah.
He looks like a starter. He doesn't look like a number 2.
Yeah.
He looks like a starter. If Jordan Mason was out on the open market right now, there'd be a lot of teams that would take him in as their guy.
Yeah.
Also, another guy that we are not mentioning, Cody Schrader.
Yeah.
He's another guy.
Yeah. Well, I just mentioned him, but hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's great.
Cody,
fantastic.
Who just mentioned him?
I did.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah. I said I would feel good if Schrader was our number 3 back because he can do it all.
He can do it all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, and he's going to make the team, and he's not going to clear waivers if they don't pick him up.
Yeah.
So what it looks like is that the new Cam Latu is Isaac Garindo. I mean, for better or for worse, he's kind of getting, I mean, the best ability is availability. And what it looks like right now is that just by him not being here, he's kind of getting ousted off the island right now.
Yeah. And he's not like we can see Cowing working on the side. We can see Burford working on the side. Like a lot of these guys that are hurt.
Tay Martin was working.
They're working on the side.
Was working on the side.
They're working on the side. We haven't seen Garindo at all. Like he's not working or doing anything, which means the injury he has is probably pretty severe. His hamstring injury. It's probably a pretty good pull. So don't know. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
they might redshirt him.
Thing.
Yeah,
speed is his thing.
Yeah.
Well, look, man. What I want to do is we're going to go over a couple of these questions that we have. We've been polling these questions that we've been having all day.
Yep.
I mean, all show.
Yep.
And we're going to get to these questions and then pretty much close us out, man. So
yeah, absolutely.
Let's get to some of these questions, man. So right here, we have from 49er Gang 916. In your opinion, do you think Demo will be an all-pro this season?
Probably not. All pro is different than Pro Bowl. I mean, those are two very different things.
All pro is like elite of the elite.
Yeah.
Like Pro Bowl is you're in the conversation of being, you're ascending, which is awesome. It's kind of like an inauguration to being one of the best players in the league.
Yeah.
All pro is a consistency thing where you are literally the best player at that position in the league. Not yet. One more year.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about all pro, first team, second team, 6 total corners, probably make that team. Probably not, but that's not at all an indictment on him. He's a really, really good player. I love Deommodore Lenoir. I just think that it'd be really hard for him to do it. If he did, that would be awesome. I'd be pleasantly surprised, but he's a really, really good player. I think he should be a Pro Bowler for sure. I think he can make Pro Bowl. And not just make it because he was voted in by the fans, make it because, damn, he deserves it. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. Right now, so I'm trying to figure out who's the offensive lineman that we signed.
When?
So, we signed offensive lineman did just sign a new tackle. We let go of Braden Mays and had a new acquisition
today.
Had a new acquisition.
Marco told me that they were signing an offensive lineman 2 days ago, and it was like something Barry something.
He practiced today.
Hold on.
It's worth bringing him up, but
I'm not going to get caught in the weeds. So I've got a million texts. I can't.
There it is.
Who?
Pat Eflin. Elfline.
Oh, okay.
Right. So the Niners released Brazen Mays and signed Pat Elfline. And yes, he did.
When did that happen?
5 hours ago.
Oh, okay.
You saw the 222, didn't you? 2000.
Yeah. I was like, what?
No.
Yeah.
The last, Elfline is 30. His most recently appeared game in 2022 was in 2022 when he started 6 contests against the Panthers. So
he was
for the Panthers. So Pat Elfline is a tackle. They signed him to a 1-year contract. Obviously, the Niners need tackles. They had Brazen Mays, and they have Garrett Kingston playing out of position. Garrett Kingston is a guard. He's been playing tackle exclusively the entire camp. So they signed Pat Elfline, and Pat Elfline was seen working with the trainers after the first individual period. So he got hurt and had to get taken off the field before he didn't even make it to team. And bro, and why do we play around with offensive line, man?
I don't know. It's silly. It's silly to me, but
why do we do this, man?
I don't know.
Let's just move on, bro. But yes, we did. Yeah, he played right to the trainer room.
Yeah.
All right.
You went from here. Hold on. You went from the top one to that one. So scroll up.
No.
Those 3 in the middle. You did.
Yeah. No.
Okay. You didn't want to. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
I was like, I'm just saying that you missed him. Okay. All right.
Dale, is it possibly our secondary is just playing that good? I'm talking about our defense having the coverage. Having the cover sacks. No.
Sure. I mean, they're good. Don't get me wrong.
Good. I don't want to take anything away. Listen, when we brought up the secondary, before we started talking about the cover sacks and how the receivers weren't getting open, I prefaced this with, let's give the secondary their flowers because they have been playing well.
They have.
Not this well, though.
Yeah.
The receiving core, these guys are not getting open. I haven't seen anything out of Jacob Cowing. Have you seen anything?
Well, Cowing's hurt. He hasn't even practiced.
Come on.
Yeah.
Literally haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
Right? It would be unfair to
Gray's
judge.
been in and out.
Gray's been in and out. Tay Martin was hurt today.
Jennings is in and out.
Jennings is in and out. He wasn't here today.
Yeah.
we're just trying to find the consistency. Honestly speaking, the only consistent receiver is Debo.
No, Trent Taylor's been consistent.
Oh, Trent Taylor. Sorry.
Trent Taylor's been consistent. Conley's been consistent. Debo's there every day, and he's Debo. But he's not a number one receiver. They don't have a number one receiver on the field.
That's the only one that's been consistently there.
Oh, there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not consistently playing.
Yeah.
No.
Well, Trent Taylor's been consistently there. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. But Debo's been there. Okay. Debo is not playing like a number one receiver.
He's not a number one receiver.
Right. So, I think this answers your questions. What about the other receiver? Jacob Cowing. He hasn't been playing.
Yeah, he hasn't been practicing. Yep.
He's nursing an injury.
Pearsall had a day where he got a couple catches, looked pretty decent. He's had a couple drops. Today he couldn't get open or didn't get the ball thrown his way on the rep that I watched specifically to see if he could get open because they weren't throwing the ball his way. And I was wondering what was going on. He couldn't get open. Rockyason did a phenomenal job on him. So, yeah, not a lot to report from the rookies for sure, receiver-wise.
Dale, we really won't be able to judge till we play against others in joint practices, in my humble opinion.
For sure. Those joint practices are super important.
They're very important. That's true, too. Like, it's just that, the context around that ups the ante on what we're saying right now. But for now, we're just telling you what we've seen on first padded practice. So what we're seeing ups the ante on the first 4 to 5 days when they were running around in shorts and t-shirts.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a progression to camp. Right. And we understand that this is an ongoing endeavor. But for now, this is what we got. Right. Sure. And if we get in joint practices and the offensive line all of a sudden finds its footing, interior defensive line is holding stout, secondary is as good as we thought they were, that actually carried over. Yeah. And the receiving core can't get open. The next thing we're going to be saying is, come on, man, we've been here before. Man, this is concerning, but it's not preseason. Yeah. Gotta wait to go to preseason. Yeah. Then as soon as we see it in preseason, what are we going to say? Well, we all know preseason is in real games. Yeah. So let's just wait till we get to the games. Yeah. So at some point, this type of, and I'm not attacking you, Dale. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah. But at some point, this type of groupthink is going to have to expire. There's an expiration date on stuff like this.
Yeah. Well, the expiration is the games. I mean, that's the expiration. We'll know then for sure.
No, it won't, because it'll be like, well, wait until week 3.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Wait till we get to the playoffs.
Wait till we get to the playoffs.
Yeah. There's always something. No, wait till the Super Bowl. No.
All right. Jam AT says tight ends not getting open either.
Tight ends, a lot of underneath routes they're getting open on. George Kittle hasn't really done a lot. He's had 2 catches that
they're pacing him through.
Yeah, that I can think of. But no, the tight ends, nobody's separating at the tight end position either. It's like every day they're all getting like a catch or a look, and it's nothing massive. It's a short dump off for a couple yards. That's really it. So no, the tight ends aren't doing a lot of getting open and separating themselves from the others in the competition either.
Yeah, I mean, I really got a feeling that there's a couple of these guys that are just trying to make it through camp, and Jordan's one of them.
Yeah,
just
for sure,
trying to get through camp
for sure.
Harold McAllister, thank you. Says lack of energy is going to lead to a slow start this season, unlike last year. Yeah,
I mean, it could. I don't want to talk in definitives. I don't know, but last year that would have never been a thought in my mind. The fact that they went out and beat Pittsburgh the way that they did in Pittsburgh, a team that's always as ready as it's going to get. That team usually wins week 1. They were at home, great coaching staff, good team. They ended up sneaking into the playoffs. The way they blew out Pittsburgh, in hindsight, shouldn't have been that crazy of a surprise because of the way training camp was. It was very clear what type of time they were on. They were on a mission. So maybe they start out great this year. They're playing the Jets at home. Should be a good game. But if they lose, I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah.
And not because I don't think the Jets are a better team. I'm not buying the Jets brand personally. Me personally, I got to see it from the Jets. I'm not buying their brand.
It's Aaron Rodgers, bro. I ain't buying it.
I'm not buying their brand this year. But if they beat us week 1, then it's like, well, I mean, we kind of saw this coming a little bit. The energy hadn't been there during practices, and here we are week 1, and they fell flat. So we'll see. We'll see how week 1 goes. Certainly, I could see that happening. If you had made a comment like this last year, I would have laughed at it. I'm definitely buying into the possibility of that being a thing at this point.
Katrina Allen, 999. Thank you. Great commentary, fellas. I think we're going to have a drop off. They seem to lack stamina. Season is too long, and I have a bad feeling injuries will be an issue. I mean, well, last year was an anomaly. We pretty much, the year before last, we were hands down one of the most injured teams in the league. In the last year, we completely swung over and were one of the top third healthiest teams last year. That's why not winning last year hurt, because we actually went through the season relatively healthy. I mean, Huff went down, Dre went down. We had a couple of nicks and bruises.
Yeah, but Dre didn't go down until the literal Super Bowl.
Yeah. Exactly. But I'm just saying, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so
when you're talking about a guy getting injured in the Super Bowl, and that's like one of your big injuries, like, I don't know, got kind of lucky last season.
Right. And then, after that, still held Patrick Mahomes to 19 points regulation. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we still haven't even seen this team in what we usually see them as in this hurt.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, it's not you wish it on them. It's just the facts is that usually we're playing down a man or two.
Yeah.
Right. So this year coming up, you can say also that Kyle is trying to ramp these guys up in a certain way where he keeps them healthy along the way. He did it last year. Last year, I particularly remember just by reports is that Christian McCaffrey had kind of a fairly light camp. Last year had a lot of off days. So this year maybe they're just probably still following the same playbook.
Yeah, I mean, but there's already been way more injuries in the camp this year than there was last year. I mean, Jennings being out, Pearsall missed some time, Cowling missed some time. The whole offensive line has missed some time outside of 2 guys. It seems like there's been a lot of little, and now they're not like serious or season ending or anything, but they've already happened, and they weren't happening last year in camp like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Right here, we have Steve Knows. Thank you. What's up, Coach? Early predictions for the Niners return man. I mean, I tend to think it's going to be Debo.
Yeah. Well, there's going to be 2, no matter what, because you have one on one side of the field, one on the other. I think Debo, if they're just playing the best player, Debo would certainly be one of those guys. I think it's open who would play next to him. Like I said, Pearsall, Juice. I could see Trent Taylor, what have you. But Debo, if they're just playing the best guy, should be one of the guys for sure. I don't know that they're going to risk Debo a ton, but we'll see.
Right. Barrier over, under the coach, right, plus minus 56. Know what I mean? Plus minus, hammer the over.
Nice.
Thank you. Showtime 2118. Coach, I heard you talking about the Niners using a bare front for run defense. Are you talking about 2-3 tech shades and a nose with the walked up backers off the edge? That's exactly what we're talking about. That's exactly the fit that they had. They had 2-3 techs. They have Malik Collins. They have Malik Collins on 1-3 tech, and then they have Javon Hargrave on another 3 tech, and they have Javon Hargrave holding down. They have Jordan Elliott holding down the nose. And they have Yatur Gross-Matos on one edge, and they put who else did they have on the edge down?
Floyd.
No, Floyd's standing up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Floyd's standing up. Sorry. Yeah. So that's the look that they gave with that. And it gave our offense fits. I mean, it gave us fits.
Big time.
And some of the stuff that they were doing, double teaming guards with D tackles, it looked good.
Yeah, it did look
good.
So
we're gonna see how they're gonna be able to create natural creases with that stuff. But for the team period where they ran better, it looked good. Jay, does Floyd look better or Matos, guys? Who looks better, Floyd or Matos?
Matos. Yeah. I think Floyd's the better player just based off of what we know.
Looks better,
but Matos looks better. Yeah.
Matos looks better than Chase Young, in my opinion. Showtime 2118. I have a couple of questions for you guys. Sorry, I'm at the airport in Cancun. Do your thing, boy. And my flight got delayed. 1, clear front runner between Jalen Graham and Winters. Well, they don't play the same position.
Yeah, that's what
I knew we were going to go there.
Yeah,
but I don't care because we do this all the time. Jalen Graham. over Winters.
Yeah.
You know how I feel about.
I think I like Graham over Winters, but I think that based off the position that's at need, the way that the 49ers are using them, practice in and practice out, Winters would have a chance at starting before Graham.
Yeah, I think that Winters would have a problem. Would probably start before Graham because I think that they're probably really counting on Jalen Graham being Fred Warner's backup.
Yeah,
he's that talented.
Yeah,
he can run. I mean, he's a baby, right?
He can move, man.
But he can move.
He can move.
Okay.
Backup quarterback competition. How bad is it? Not as bad as I expected, to be real
They've
with
been
you.
showing consistency.
Allen's much better than he was last year.
Yeah.
A much better player than he was last year. So not as bad as I expected it to be.
The backup quarterback competition, we're kind of in good hands with the backup quarterback. If I had to have one of those guys that's just like eke out a game,
yeah,
not bad.
Yeah, listen, if Brock Purdy was going to miss more than a game or two, please go sign Ryan Tannehill if he's available.
We're screwed,
right?
For more than one game.
That's just what it is. That neither of these guys are going to be able to hold down the fort for multiple games at a time. But if it's like a game situation, actually not as bad as what I would think. Yeah.
And then also with the offensive lines they've been playing behind and still being able to get the ball out and make things happen, I've been pleased. So playing third safety, Fred.
I don't know. No, definitely not.
No, Odom and Jair right now are the two starting safeties.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yep.
I would say
Malik Mustafa is the third.
But the undrafted rookie free agent Mahoney is doing his thing. Mahoney's growing on me.
Hawkins had the hit of the practice too, or hit of the 4 days we were there. Hawkins laid the wood, so
that's true.
But it was Camelot too, so I don't know what to tell you.
Jamaro Thomas, what position y'all feel good in going into the regular season? What positions do we feel
running
good?
Back, secondary?
Running back and secondary.
Yeah,
that's the most consistent.
Yeah, and quarterback. Yeah,
quarterback.
Running back. We trust Brock.
Yeah, I trust Brock. So quarterback, running back, secondary.
Yep.
Everybody else, there's questions.
Not great right now. Yeah.
Right. Also, Larry mentioned that both rookie interior D-line look legit. Did you guys see that? Also, Debo, does he look anything close to what Aiyuk looked like last season in camp? Well, let's answer the last question first. No. Okay. Debo doesn't look anything like, from what I'm hearing. Aiyuk, you know what? You answer that. Yeah.
No, not even fucking close.
No. All right. And also, the rookie interior defensive line looked legit. So Evan Anderson is a rookie.
Evan Anderson's the only one to me that's flashed.
Yeah. I mean, Evan Anderson is flashed on a weak-ass lineman.
Yeah. But he's flashed at least.
He's flashed. I mean, he's flashed. I mean,
I think that's what's hard is that listen, I'm not here to say that Larry's wrong because he's not. I have Evan Anderson flashing, but we do have to look at the context of who it's against. And it's like, okay, you're going against a bunch of third string interior offensive linemen who, quite frankly, probably shouldn't be on NFL teams. So that's good. That's all you can do is beat the guys that are in front of you. And he's doing that. So proving he probably should be somewhere on a roster at some point. We'll see eventually like where he goes. But yeah, I mean, I want to see the competition upped from the interior offensive line before I'm going to like make a major claim on who's whatever. So,
Yellow Snowman. Coach, did you meet Larry? Yes, me and Larry met. It was awesome, bro. Jay, Coach and Jesse, you guys have to do this next year. All you creators should get together with the fans while you guys are out there. It would be so dope. I mean, I feel like that kind of happened this trip. All of the content creators came out. We met tons of fans. We were out there amongst the fans.
Yeah.
And you got your wish, man, because I want to do this next year. How about you, bro?
Yeah, I definitely want to do this next year. We'll
do it next year, bro.
Yep.
Hell yeah. So, Cosmo, I'm thinking Mason is number 3 because of his blocking. I picked this up because I wanted to tell you is that he's a much better blocker.
Yeah, he's doing a much better job at blocking.
That's why I put this out, Cosmo. That's not a thing anymore. Jordan Mason is a complete player now.
Yeah, he is.
He's a complete player. Harold McAllister, $5. Thank you. At this point, why would you count on? Who would you count on to beat man coverage on third down?
CMC.
Ronnie.
CMC.
I'm receiver.
Yeah. No, CMC. I don't trust any of these receivers.
Yeah, because he can't catch. All right, CMC. I haven't seen it. No, Juwan, stop.
Oh yeah, Juwan. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, come on. We can't.
He's still third down, Juwan.
Yeah, come on.
Hold on, though. Hold on. Juwan was third down, Juwan with Aiyuk out there next to him.
Respect. Now that's a take.
We don't know if he's don't know if he's third down and Juwan without Aiyuk.
Okay, I'll give you that. We don't know. CMC.
Yeah.
All right. Gregorius Greg, thanks, bro. What rookies will get hidden this year so far? Cody Schrader.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably.
Cody Schrader this year. One of the best rookies that's kind of going unsung that's really good is Renardo Green.
Yeah. Oh, Renardo's a solid. Yeah, he's solid. I didn't even mention him as far as the guys, but he definitely deserves being talked about.
Renardo Green's flash. He's had really good plays.
He's a good player.
Renardo Green's ready to play, and Renardo Green's like his body. He's ready to play.
Yeah,
he's not too small. He's not going to ambush us.
No.
He looks good in his pads. The
Yeah.
boy can play. All right. Dale, $10. Thank you. Context of our wide receivers sucking. Is it due to our secondary or O-line sucking? D playing. Just pause. My pause meter just made me. All right. So, context of our wide receivers sucking. Is it due to secondary or O-line sucking? D playing out of their shorts is what I mean. When we see players that are not on the team, it might be a different story for the wide receivers.
I don't think so. I don't trust these wide receivers without Aiyuk. I don't.
They need
but we'll see. Listen, we'll see. I reserve the right to be wrong. I'm certainly not right about a lot of things. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll gladly take that L. But listen, this receiving core is not. I think there's a reason that Brandon Aiyuk hasn't been traded at this point. If they had seen what they wanted to see out of it, I think that would have already happened. But shoot, for all I know, he's traded tomorrow. Like who knows at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, at this stage, what are some of the overarching things? Just quick, give me just 3 because we want to get out of here. So give me just 3, and I'll go first, just to give you some time. For me, we need Brandon Aiyuk and Trent back full stop. We cannot start the season back with not one or the other, both. They both have to be here for the season to even for us to even keep this whole Super Bowl window even conversation, even if it's real or not.
Yeah.
For us to even keep the conversation, they both need to be suiting up on week 1.
Yeah.
That's facts.
Yep.
That's 1. 2, offensive line has got a long way to go, even with everybody back. I got to see what they're going to do at guard because really the weak link last year was the right side of the offensive line. I don't think that the faithful are ready to understand that it may be Aaron Banks now. He hasn't shown that much since he's been here. And 3, defense seems to be up to the challenge, but it's going to all come down to those 2 A gaps.
Okay. I would say for me, I spent a lot of the offseason talking about the 39 unrestricted free agents, 40 if you include BA, and wondering how many players aren't going to be here and what does the future look like. Well, I can say at one position group, even if they lose Travarius Ward, I think the future is bright in the secondary.
Yeah.
And I love to see that. I think the future is bright at running back as well. We've talked about that ad nauseum. I agree with you. Certainly, they have to get Trent and they have to get Aiyuk back. Completely agree with that. And I would say the third thing is, and I feel like we've kind of beaten a dead horse here, but listen, we can say it's practice. Practice is practice, not the end of the world. I'm not talking about this team from a talent standpoint, but I'm certainly talking about this team from an energy standpoint. And last year's training camp, they were full of energy. Every day you could see they were on a mission.
Right.
I don't feel anything close to that this year. And so it does feel like there's a Super Bowl hangover in effect. Can they get over it? Certainly. Right now, it does have me a little bit concerned.
Hey, man. Well, look, the only thing that I'm not concerned about is the trip that we had. Bro, this was awesome. We set this whole thing up. Everything went off without a hitch. Any obstacle we had, we definitely overcame. We did. We're closing out 1 full week of camp. Brother, it was awesome.
It was great, man. Thank you.
You have a good one, man.
Yeah.
Hey, man, this is the coach, Jesse. We'll be back at our homes for the next shows. But this is the camp. This is our camp, and we're signing off, man. Stay low and keep your feet moving, man. Love you guys. Have a good one. Peace.